Alright guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the Tiger Pride video tutorial. We're going to just go from the very start here, from the first time that you open Photoshop. So we're going to go here to your start menu. We're going to go to all apps, and then what we're going to do is we're going to come down here. You're going to see Adobe Photoshop 2025. You're going to click on that. You'll see this icon. It should load up, and then you get to your interface. So when you get to your interface here, what we're going to do is that we're going to start with a new file. So you're going to say new. Okay, if you click on this, then what we're going to do is that we're going to enter a name for your file. So we're going to call this Tiger Pride Tutorial. Okay. Now this is important here. This is the size of the document. So the width is going to be 1024 pixels. If you need to change this, we can just change it by highlighting it and typing in with the number key. Make sure that this is set to pixels, not inches, centimeters, millimeters, points, or picas. You want to make sure it's set to pixels. The width should be 1024. The height should be 768. Your resolution should be 72 pixels per inch, okay, not per centimeter. Okay. Your color mode should be RGB color. You have a couple options here: bitmap, grayscale, RGB, CMYK, and then lab color. We're always going to go to the RGB. This is your color depth. We have 8, 16, or 32-bit. We're going to go with 8. Your background content, which is going to be the background layer, is going to be set to black. Your color profile, okay, you have a number of them here. We're going to go right here to this one, which is sRGB IEC, okay, 61966-2.1. And your pixel aspect ratio will be set to square pixels. Now, when you say create, this is what happens. This is your blank document, essentially. So you see Tiger Pride Tutorial. We're looking at it at 100%. Your toolbar is down here on the left-hand side. Your option bar is up at the top. And then we have a bunch of palettes on the right-hand side. Now, these aqua lines are guides. We don't need to see them right now, so we're going to go to View, and we're going to turn off Extras. Okay. The other thing is that when you left click and you hold and you drag, that's how you can actually move your canvas around. So the way you want to think about this is that it's just a blank canvas that you're going to be working on. If you left click and drag out on the lower right hand side, okay, this gray area, you can't put anything on, just the black canvas right here. So what we're going to do is that we're going to set up these guides that we had before. So what we're going to do is we're going to say go to View and make sure Rulers is turned on. Now the rulers are going to run across the horizontal top like this, and they're also going to go vertically down the left hand side. You're going to see numbers here. What you want to do is that if you right click on that ruler itself, you can change it to a variety of different formats. So this one is pixels, inches, centimeters, millimeters, points, picas, and percent. We want it to be at percent. So this is 0% to 100%. And what we want to do is that we want to drag a guide out of the ruler and show exactly where the middle of this canvas is. So with the Move tool selected, what we're going to do is that we're going to move over to the document. We're going to left click, hold down your left mouse button, and drag out a guide. That guide should lock in at X:50%. That's showing you that right now you've created a brand new guide that is exactly dividing the canvas 50% to 50%. Now what you're going to do is you're going to do the same exact thing going from the top down to 50%. You're going to see that you have these other guides here. You can just remove them. So all I'm doing is left clicking, dragging them out into the ruler area, okay, and that's essentially going to clear out those guides. So all I'm trying to do is get those guides to show me 50% in the X and then 50% in the Y. So now Where these two guides intersect is the exact center of that canvas. Okay, so now what we're going to do with Photoshop most of the time is that you're going to start importing or opening up images. Okay, so we're going to say File, Open. We're going to navigate to the S drive. Now, if you look at this PC, right, you have all these shared drives on the network and things like that. You're going to go to the network locations and you're going to go to the S drive, which is the shared drive. You're going to scroll down. We're going to go to Scalera. We're going to double click here. You're in digital imaging. We're going to go to tutorials. O1 Tiger Pride tutorial. If we double click in here, we have a number of subfolders. The first subfolder is fonts. Okay, if we take a look in here and we change the more options to large icons, you can see that it says Hackettstown High, Qui Audet Vincent, and Who Dares Wins. That is the text objects that we're going to be using a little bit later on. Right now, you want to double click into photography. You want to click on this down arrow and choose extra large icons, and now these are the 3 images that we're going to use to bring into the canvas and start to assemble our Tiger Pride tutorial. Okay, so the very first thing you're going to open up is Circle of Fire. Now you're going to see that the Circle of Fire opens up separately as a tab. That's problematic. Okay, because you want to drag this into this, but you can't. So what you want to do is that if we close this out, you want to go to Edit, Preferences, you're going to go to Workspace, and under Workspace, you want to turn off Open Documents as Tabs and hit OK. Now watch, when I open this up again, Circle of Fire, it opens it up in a separate window. That's exactly what you want. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to use the Move tool. We're going to left click, drag, and drop this from here and let it go onto the canvas. Once you've done that, you can close out this photo because you don't need it anymore. Now what I want you to be aware of is that if you look up at the top, you want to make sure that Auto Select is turned off and Show Transform Controls is on. Now if I left click, I can actually drag this image around the canvas. So looking here at your layers palette, okay, you have a background layer and you have layer 1. Layer 1, every time you left click, you are selecting a new layer. Okay, so if I left click on layer 1, that allows me to move that layer around. Now I have these transform controls, right? I have 3 points over the top, I have 2 in the middle, and I have 3 on the bottom. What I'm going to do is that if I left click and hold and drag from the left, you're going to see that allows me to scale it down. But the problem is that if I scale it and I double click, it squashes it. Not what you want. So what you can do is that when you scale this down, if you hold shift, it will scale it uniformly, which means it will scale it in both directions. You're going to see W and H, that's width and height. You're going to see percentages. You want to get it to about 80%. When you get it to 80%, and you'll see it up here, and you can even turn this lock on, now you can actually drag this and move it around. And what you want to do is that you want to position this to really be in the center, just like that. So lines up like that, lines up like that. We're going to double click to accept that. Okay, and now layer 1, what we're going to do is we're going to call this Fire Circle, because we're going to have a number of layers. You want to make sure that they're named appropriately. Now what I want to do is I want to clean this up a little bit. Now if I turn off Show Transform Controls and I hide, okay, this background layer, and all I'm doing is clicking on that eyeball, that's going to hide it. Okay, then what you're going to do is that you're going to use the Erase tool. Okay, for the Erase tool, that can be found right here. Okay, so if you left click on this, the Erase tool is in a brush. Okay, it looks like a paintbrush. This is the symbol for the brush up here. Right now 10. If I click on that, this allows me to adjust the size of the brush. Okay, px means pixels, and the hardness. Now the hardness, okay, if I leave it at 100%, watch what happens, and I increase this to about, let's say, 100 pixels. okay, and I come in here and I start to erase, you're going to see it has a really strict edge, right? Okay, but if I undo this and I hit Control Z and I change the hardness to 0, right? Now I erase. Now you get that really nice kind of soft edge. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we're going to change this right now to a size of 60. Okay, let's bring this down to about 60 pixels, and my hardness should be set to 0. And now my opacity, okay, which is how much of the material it's going to erase, is going to be set to 40%. So watch. If I come in here, I can actually just start to airbrush or erase this area out. So watch, since it's set to 40%, it's only taking 40% of that material out. So I kind of have to go in here and go over the same area kind of again and again. So I'm going to just airbrush this area out here, okay, like this. I want to clear things out. I don't want to see that hard edge. Okay, we're going to leave those kind of red flames up there. I'm going to come over here, okay, like this. Remember, the most important aspect that you want to remove from this image, okay, is the black background. So we're going to come around here. I see this square edge here, that straight edge. We're going to clear that out. Okay. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to leave the inside right there. That's fine. We're going to turn the background on, and now this blends right into the background. Now what we're also going to do is that we're going to open up the next piece of photography. We're going to open up the smoke column. Now with the smoke column, this is what we're going to do. We're going to just use the move tool, drag and drop it right there. Once it's on there, you can close that out. Again, remember, turn on your show transform controls, because now we're going to scale this down. So in order to zoom out, turn on the magnifying glass by left clicking once, hold Alt, and that will allow you to zoom out of the document and then go back to the move tool. Now you can see the full size of the smoke. What we're going to do is we're going to scale this down to 40%. Easy enough. Hold Shift, scale this down, okay, until you get to 40%. Okay, that's perfect, and then double click. Now if you zoom back in, you can grab that smoke and place it wherever you want. Now what I want to do is I'm going to position it just like this. We're going to call this left smoke, okay, like that. And now the problem is that if I zoom in, right, since this left smoke is over the fire circle, it's blocking it essentially. So what we want to do is that we want to allow that black area of the smoke layer to be able to be see-through. Really easy way to do that. If you have the blending modes right here, which is how do those layers interact with each other, what you can do is that you can change the blending mode from normal on the smoke layer to be screen, and watch what happens. When you change it to be screen, now you can actually see through that smoke. So I'm going to align this. We'll put it right here like that. We're going to turn off the show transform controls, and now what I want to do is that I want to blend in this lower edge again, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the magnifying glass. I'm holding the space bar to pan this, and you're going to see it's a little pixelated. That's because I've zoomed in at 300%. Now I'm going to switch to the erase tool, okay? And the erase tool, I'm going to keep the same exact adjustments, and now I'm going to just hit that lower area, okay, and make sure that it blends in to that background. So something like that. If I double click, it will show me the image at full resolution. Good, it looks like it's coming in from the backgrounds. Now, what I want to do is that I thought it would be pretty cool to tint that smoke blue, so then that way it's going to be a nice complement to that orange. So with this layer selected, we're going to go to Image, Adjustment, Hue and Saturation, and when we go to Hue and Saturation, we want to turn on Colorize, and we're going to change the hue slider, okay, the hue value to be 230. Once I get it to 230, Okay, like that, it turns blue. That's perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to hit OK. I have the left smoke. Now, one really cool aspect is that I want to create a sense of symmetry. So I want this smoke to be on the right side of the document, and when I do that, I want it to just mirror it. So the easiest way to do that is this. If I right click on this layer, I can say duplicate the layer. Okay, it's going to ask me, do I want to rename it? Sure, we're going to call this right smoke. Okay, we'll take out copy. We're going to the same document. We're going to hit OK. Now you're going to see that got a little bit brighter because when it duplicates it, it puts it right on top. So we're going to say edit, transform, and we're going to say flip horizontal. So when we say flip horizontal, watch. If I take the move tool, I can slide it over to the right. And now look, I have a perfect mirror of that image. So we have left smoke, right smoke. Here's the right, here's the left, here's the fire circle, and here is the background. Okay, so far we're making good progress. Now what I want to do is that I want to bring in another image, right? So we're going to say file open. We're going to navigate to the tiger, okay, and we're going to put this guy into the scene, but I want him to be in a circle, because when we put him in a circle, it's going to look like he's kind of engulfed in the fire, which I think is going to be really cool looking. So how do we get him in a circle, right? Now, if you go here to the second tool, you're going to see that it's called the rectangular marquee tool. Now, what this does is that it allows you to make these rectangular shapes. And what's cool about these rectangular shapes or these square shapes is that they're just selections, right? So if I make a selection around here like this, I can actually cut that area right out. But I don't want it to be a selection in the shape of a square, right? What I want it to be is I want it to be in the shape of a circle. So in order to do that, if you look, you'll see there's a little tiny arrow on that icon, and what that means is that there are hidden tools behind that one. So you can see that it's an elliptical marquee tool that allows you to make a circular or elliptical selection. So now watch, if I hold shift and I drag out, I'm going to get a perfect circle. But the problem is that as I do this, I'm not really getting a great selection because I want it to be right around his face. So I can continue to try and get it. Sometimes I'll get a little bit of good luck, sometimes I won't. But watch, if I hold shift and I drag this out, and while I'm holding shift, if I press and I hold down the space bar, what this allows me to do is to adjust that selection to get exactly what I want. And what I want is that I can kind of cut off his ears, that's okay, something like that, and then just let go. Now I have this selection, but watch, in order to cut this out, I have to switch to the move tool. Move this over, left click, you'll see that it will cut out his head and drop it onto the new document. I'm going to close out that other document. Now it's going to ask me, do you want to save changes to this document before I close it because I made a selection? Definitely not. Okay, you don't want to save that. So now if I look, layer 1 will be called tiger head. Again, if I turn on show transform controls, I can scale this down and put this into position. So what I want to do is I want to just hold shift and scale this down. So let's do this. Let's grab this. I'm going to hold shift. We're going to scale this down. I'm going to position it. Let's go right here. I want the fire to kind of go around it. Let's go like this. All right, so I'm going to say that scale is about 55%. If you're looking for a number, I would definitely say 55% and then just double click. But what I want to do is that I want to make sure it looks like it's being engulfed in fire. Okay, so what I want to do is that if I drag this layer, watch, all I have to do is left click and drag and it will turn into a hand, and I can reposition this. We're going to put this into the right below the circle of fire. Now the problem is that the circle of fire is now hiding that tiger head. Well, watch. If I switch to the circle of fire and I do the same trick that I did before, which is change the blending mode to be screen, well now that works out perfectly, because now I have the right smoke, the left smoke. They're both screen blending modes. We have the circle of fire, which is allowing the tiger to be seen through. The tiger head is set to normal. The background is set to normal as well. Okay. Now what we want to do is that we want to create a new layer. Okay. When we do a new layer, and I'm just going to move this over here. Okay, we're going to go to the top of the stack. We're going to create a new layer by hitting this plus sign, okay, like that. And what we're going to do is that we're going to call this new layer, you know what, let's actually call this top black, whoop, gotta spell it right, black bar, okay, like that. And what I want to do is I want to drag it to be the top, like this. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the rectangular marquee tool. I'm going to make a selection just like this. Okay, so now I'm in a new layer. I've made a selection, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say edit, fill, okay, and I want to change this to be black, so it's going to be filled with black. Okay, at 100% opacity with a normal blending mode, and hit OK. Now, in order to deselect a selection, you're going to hit Control D or Select Deselect. Okay. Now, this black bar, I don't want it to be 100% black. I actually want to drop the opacity of it. So watch. What I can do is that this opacity here, I'm going to drop this down to about 50%. So now you can kind of see through it. Cool, right? Now what we're going to do is that we're going to do another layer here. So we're going to hit new, double click. We're going to call this white line top, like that. I'm going to go to the line tool, which is located right here. Again, this is under the rectangle tool. What I want to do is I want to make sure that you have three options: shape, path, and pixels. We want to go to pixels. You want to make sure your normal mode is set. Your opacity should be set to 100%. Anti-alias, which means that you're going to not have any, it's going to be really nice and smooth. And then the weight is going to be 1px, which is 1 pixel. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold shift and drag, left click, drag all the way across the canvas like that. Okay. Now I want it a little bit lower, so what I can do is that if I turn on the move tool and I turn off my show transform controls, I can actually use the arrow keys on the keyboard to nudge it into place. So now I have a really cool white line sitting at the top, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to change this a little bit. So let's go on to the next part. So remember, I want to duplicate this, so let's go here, right click. I'm going to duplicate the layer. Let's call this white line lower, okay, like that. And now watch, if I just grab this layer, okay, like this, I can actually just move this down and put it into position. And let's put it right there, okay? Now, next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start to add some fonts here. So we're going to say open. We're going to navigate back here to the tutorial. We're going to go to the fonts, and what we want to do is that we want to open up Hackettstown High. So now it's going to open it up as a new document. Now you're going to see, if you take a look, okay, like this, and we zoom in, you're going to see that you have white and gray squares. What that basically is telling you is that this is on a transparent background, so there's no background here. So what we should be able to do is just drag it over, and then you have a really nice transparent background. So a PNG, that file format, means that you have a transparent background. So what we're going to do is that we're actually going to resize this before we drag it over. Right now, if you take a look at this, it says that it's almost 3,500, more than 3,500 pixels wide. So what we're going to do is that we're going to change this. So we're going to go to Image, Size. We're going to change this to be pixels. Let's change this to be 1024. Okay, it's automatically, make sure that this is on, that your height is set to 71, and we're going to hit OK. Okay, once you hit OK, that's going to resize that document and that image. Now what we can do is that we can just drag this over, okay, like this, and drop it down. Now the problem is that you can't really see it, and we're not going to save the changes. Okay, layer 1, let's call this Hackettstown text. Now watch, we want to change this to be white. So the easiest way to do that is this. If we double click on this, okay, you will bring up something called layer styles. And what layer styles are is that it allows you to do things like apply a bevel and emboss, or a stroke, or an inner shadow. They're kind of like special effects. We want to turn on color overlay, okay, checkbox. Then you're going to highlight it, and now what we're going to do is that it's changing it to orange. Well, we don't want it to be orange. What we want it to be is actually to be white. So if you left click here and then you move this color picker over to the left, you'll see that it comes out as white. You're going to hit OK, and now you're going to be good. And if you hit OK, that's going to accept that. So what we're going to do is that we're going to just kind of nudge this into place like that. Okay. Next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to open the text file, Who Dares Wins. Okay, like this. Now we're going to resize it. So image size, we're going to change this to be 500 and hit OK. And now we're going to change the text color again, double click it. Change color overlay to be white. We're going to drag and drop this down here. Okay, let's put it just like that, and you can see if we turn on the show transform controls, it's centered up to that middle guide, which is great. Next thing that we're going to do, we're going to close that out. We're going to say File, Open, and we're going to say Qui Audet Vincet. Okay, like this. We're going to resize this one. We're going to say image size is going to be 400, okay, by 45, like that. That looks good. And now what we're going to do is that we're going to change this color. But watch. Let's drag this over first. Close this out. Okay, you can see it. It's right over here. And let's rename these layers while we're here. So let's do this one. We'll call this one Who Dares. Okay, this one here is going to be Qui Audet. So let's do that. Qui Audet. Okay. Now we're going to double click on this layer. You're going to bring up layer style, and we're going to turn on color overlay. It's set to white, but watch, if I click this and I drag with the eyedropper tool, I can actually select one of the oranges. So let's grab an orange and let's make it a little bit brighter. So now watch, now you have Qui Audet Vincet, and I'm going to use my arrows to kind of nudge this into place like that. Okay, so now look, I have Hackettstown High, Who Dares Wins, Qui Audet Vincet. Okay, and it looks pretty good, except I'm not really crazy about the spacing up top. So let's make some changes up there. So now I'm going to grab that top black bar. All I'm doing is I'm using my arrow keys to kind of nudge it up into place. We're going to take the Hackettstown High and let's put that up a little bit more like that. And we're also going to take that white line top, and if you're having a tough time seeing it because the transform controls are on, just turn them off and you can kind of see exactly where that's supposed to be. So something like that looks pretty good. I'm going to see my lower white line, which is right here. This one is, let's move that a little bit, and then I'm going to take my fire circle. Now if you want to select multiple layers, you can click on fire circle, hold shift and grab the tiger head, and now watch, you can actually move these guys like that. That looks pretty good. I'm going to move that lower line up a little bit like that. One thing that's bothering me is that, do you see this little tiny area right here, this spot? Okay, that is on the fire layer. So if I select the fire layer, I can actually go in with a eraser, okay, really small, bring my opacity up to 100% and get rid of that. There you go. Okay, so now if we take a look at this, I don't want to close it. There we go, like that. Expand this up. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to say view, turn off extras. There you go. That is your finished tutorial. Now, your grade for your tutorial is based on how closely does your tutorial look like mine. It's got to look exactly the same. Okay, it's only with your original idea that you can start making artistic decisions and what you would like to see and to be creative. But for the tutorial, it has to be just like mine. So in review, if we take a look at this, we have Quiadet Vincent, Who Dares Wins, the Hackettstown text, the white line lower, the white line top, the top black bar, the right smoke, the left smoke, the fire circle, the tiger head, and the background. Now, in order to save this as a Photoshop document, you need to go to File, Save As. Okay, we're going to put this on your P drive. Okay, digital imaging. You can just put this in here. We're going to call this Tiger Pride Complete. Okay, make sure it's right here. It says .psd. That's Photoshop document. Make sure this is on your ICC profile, and we're going to say save. It's going to say, do you want to replace that? We're going to say yes. Say don't show this again to maximize the compatibility. That is okay. Then you are done. Okay, then you can submit it through Google Classroom. Okay, if you guys have any questions, please raise your hand, ask me. I will be more than happy to come over and help you out. Okay, you guys are good to get started.